same pose feels. On the next inhale, roll the shoulders towards the ears, back and down so the shoulders are slightly open. Let the palms rest open to the side. Inhale and let the arms rise with the palms facing up. Exhale, bend at the elbows and allow the hands to come down the center line. Sink to the knees just a little. Repeat this again. Inhale, lift the arms with the palms facing up. Allow the hands and face to be relaxed. Continue with this movement at your own pace. Breathe as you move and try to coordinate the breath with the movement. On the next breath, lift the arms back over the head. Fingertips point in, palms face up. Imagine that you have candles in the palms of your hands and you do not want to spill them. Turn the fingertips so they face behind you. The palms remain up. Turn the fingertips to the side and then to the front like an offering, then out to the side walls. Breathe as you move, up to the top with the fingers facing in again, towards one another, and then forwards like an offering, then out to the side walls. Breathe as you move, up to the top with the fingers facing in again. Let's do this rotation one more time. After the second rotation, allow the hands to cascade down by the side and let them rest. Pause for one slow inhale and exhale. One more breath. Inhale, exhale. This next exercise is excellent for strengthening the spine and gently stretching the muscles of the back, front, and sides. Attempt to make the movement easeful and gentle. We will do these movements with various arm positions. The first arm position is the easiest. Please be sure to stay with the one that feels best for your body. We will demonstrate them all. Take the right hand to the waist and then the left. Roll the shoulders open. Inhale to the center. On the exhale, lean to the left. Inhale back to the center. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. And on the next inhale, gently pull the navel towards the spine. Pull the shoulder blades softly together. Get a small lift in the chin and feel a sense of lengthening through the front of the body. On the next exhale, begin to fold gently forward. It does not have to be all the way. Bend the knees slightly. Inhale and rise back to a standing position. Open the left arm to the side. Keep the elbow bent. Leave the right hand on the waist. Inhale. Exhale, lean slightly to the right, and then return back to the center. Bring the left hand down to the waist. Lift the right arm. Inhale. Exhale and lengthen to the left. Return to the center. Roll the shoulders open. Gently pull the navel in towards the spine. Pull the shoulder blades softly together. Get a small lift in the chin. Exhale and fold forward halfway. Inhale, back to standing. Open the left arm again. Inhale, and on the exhale, lean to the right. Inhale and return back to the center. Place the left hand on the waist. Lift the right arm. Inhale. On the exhale, lean to the left. Inhale and return back to the center. Roll the shoulders open. Lengthen through the front of the body. Slightly pull the shoulder blades together. Get a small lift in the chin. Exhale and fold forward. Knees slightly bent. Inhale and return to standing in mountain pose. Pause for a moment. Inhale and exhale. For this warrior sequence, attempt to keep the movements gentle and relaxed. If you notice that you are struggling, move the feet closer together. Lower the arms or make the movements smaller. This pose is great for strengthening the legs, respiration, and opening the shoulders. Step the left foot forward just a few feet. The back foot points in at a 45-degree angle. The front knee bends and the hips face front if possible. Inhale, open the arms and bend at the elbows. On the exhale, bring the hands and elbows towards each other. Inhale, open the arms and push the heart softly forwards. Relax the shoulders. Exhale, bring the arms together. Inhale, open the arms to where you feel comfortable. Exhale, relax the arms inwards. Inhale, open and expand. Exhale, contract. Inhale, exhale. Bring the hands back down by the side. Return to mountain pose. One breath here. Inhale, exhale. Step the right foot forward. Take a moment, there's no rush. Ground the back foot into the floor. Bend the front knee. When you are ready, open the arms. Inhale. Exhale, bring the hands and elbows towards one another. Inhale, open the arms. This is a relaxed opening in the chest. Exhale, bring the hands and arms towards one another. Inhale, repeat again, creating spaciousness with a full inhale. Exhale, contract and relax the arms slightly. 2 more times at your own pace. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Let the hands rest down by the side and return back to mountain pose. Pause here for a few breaths.
Hope you had a really nice stretch. We will now have meditation guided by Venerable Nicholas Thanissaro. After meditation, we will have a wisdom talk, and today's topic is integrating meditation in daily life and principles for purifying the mind. Let us now practice purifying the mind by meditating together.
Display. Oh, display. Okay, good. I would like to start by paying homage to the Lord Buddha, offering salutation to senior and junior monks respectively, and extending greetings to all the lay supporters who are listening in from Welcome back to English Language Friday night session of Dhamma in Evening, which has now moved to Sunday morning and morphed into live Sunday Peacetime, hosted by alternating Sunday mornings. With a new host comes a new format, so today's session will be 90 minutes long instead of 1 hour. The format will be 30 minutes Dhamma talk, 30 minutes of meditation, and then 30 minutes conclusion, answers to the viewer questions I've received in advance, and some news. The topic for the Dhamma talk today will be integrating meditation in daily life and principles for purifying the mind. Last time I saw you, we looked at how meditation works to bring us many important benefits, including relief from stress, depression, and insomnia, and can even help us improve on the good character qualities that we already have. This session we're going to be looking more at how meditation can be integrated in daily life, the importance of respect in opening up and letting go, and principles for purifying the mind. Today, at the end of the session, I have a couple of questions that were sent in after the last program, and a couple of news items to finish up. Again, this session I would encourage you to send in any questions you have to the DIMC family line group. Post them on the DIMC information YouTube page, or send them to me personally, so that I can have a shot at answering these on the next show. So let's start with seeing how our meditation can be facilitated by getting in touch with our inner child. Last session we talked a little about the advantages of starting meditation at an early age, especially if it means avoiding the skeptical attitudes scientists tend to have toward knowledge. The trouble with questions is that some have no simple answers, or perhaps no answers at all. Some questions have answers, but even if I were to tell you the answer, you still wouldn't believe it anyway. The result of one answer would set off another 5 questions. The long or short of it is that entertaining questions in the mind occupies too much attentional bandwidth while you are meditating, meaning that the mind is unable to focus effectively. Once long ago in ancient times there was a man shot by a poisoned arrow, and anyone interested can look it up in the Chulamalunkiya Sutta of the Buddhist Majjhima Nikaya. The man refused to have the arrow pulled out by the doctor until the doctor could tell him what sort of poison had been used, what chemicals were in the poison, who had shot the arrow, and what sort of bow the archer had used. In the meantime, the guy was dying from the poison in his bloodstream. Well, he like the meditator who wants to know all the trivial details before they will agree to accept what is happening in their meditation. When you meditate, if we have a question, we have to differentiate between the things useful to ask and questions to meditate further upon until you can find an answer for yourself. If it's something that is useful to ask, of course you should send it in and have it answered on the next episode. But until you learn to identify the useful questions, it's better to discover your inner child and not have any questions at all. Meanwhile, like a child, you can maintain a playful attitude to meditation, allowing you to enjoy the journey instead of worrying too much about the destination, as adults tend to do. Thus, the meditator must rediscover their inner child to avoid being played in the mind. This doesn't mean that you have to be childish or abandon your common sense, but we can pretend to be like a child during the time we're meditating, and be the sort of person who responds with awe and wonder without trying to control anything. The child accepts their own ignorance about the world, and is thus a very good student of meditation because they're open to following instructions obediently and do not allow questions in the mind to disturb their meditation. Unlike scholars, the innocent child does not tend to let questions run riot in the mind, especially while they are actually meditating. However, Just to leave those seniors listening in with the encouragement to meditate, I will add that as a meditator, the child does not have all the advantages. In general, those who are more mature will see the value of meditation more than those who are still young. In the West, humanity has developed some of the greatest systems of culture and learning, scientific revolution, experimentation, as the main strategies and methods about the natural world. Although meditation is historically older than science, it took 500 years for the West to catch up with Eastern philosophy and become aware of its existence of meditation. And only now, in the present day, are subjective methodologies of knowledge validation becoming accepted again, under the guise of contemplative studies, but that is a talk for another day. To the casual observer, meditation looks like a simple process which is governed by laws, reason, cause and effect. Much of what we have already studied about meditation, especially the evidence-based studies I told you about in my last program, may lead you to believe that meditation is pretty much compatible with science, because much of the process of meditation can be described scientifically. Indeed, when we compare meditation and science, we find similarities but also some important differences. Both meditation and science are systems of thought which rely on cause and effect. Both meditation and science dispel the darkness of ignorance about the natural world. Nonetheless, there are some important differences between meditational and empirical ways of discovering things about the world, since we should not forget that ignorance comprises lack of knowledge about both the world around us and the world inside us. The scientific method helps solve the problem of ignorance in the outside world because it takes its evidence from the phenomena around us. This may allow the scientist to predict how much our choices will cost, but not whether the choices will leave us any more contented, fulfilled, or responsive to one another. Dispelling ignorance about the outside world depends on the collection of objective information. If data is insufficient, as in the case of the, let's say, theory of evolution, or not empirical, as in the case of experiential psychology, science has its limitations about what it can reveal about the natural world. And this is because science, unlike meditation, deals with only objective knowledge about the outside world. It cannot reveal much about the subjective world of meditation. Therefore, meditation has a unique role in rolling back the final frontiers of inner space. Turning to another difference, the value of objective modern knowledge, such as politics or science, depends on where it is going and not where it's come from. However, for subjective ancient knowledge such as that of meditation, its values depend on authenticity to its origins. In meditation, there is a clear message that knowledge and expertise of meditation gain their authority from their sources, or to put it another way, from their lineage or their provenance. It is important to stop and ponder this because it is radically opposed to modern, Western or scientific views of progressing knowledge. The modern ideal is that ideas are to be judged according to their truth or their utility, rather than their origins. For meditation, which is a subjective body of knowledge, you cannot ignore its origins because such knowledge doesn't come unpackaged, but comes as part and parcel of the teacher or exemplar who has been inducted into a lineage. The meditator who has become disconnected from the roots of the knowledge can do no better than be an observer or a commentator about meditation. A less skeptical approach, by contrast, will allow meditation to be a personal experience, to let you gain understanding as a result of your meditation, to let you find out truths about yourself which you never knew before. And yet, if anyone asked you to prove it, you could not do so. That doesn't alter the fact that what you have found out about yourself can make real beneficial changes in your life. If I was asked to prove much of what I'm teaching you on these programs beyond all shadow of scientific doubt, there's no way I could do that. All I could do is describe the general trends of what the majority of people report proving to themselves as a result of their meditation. My choice of topics is based on what is empowering and emancipatory for meditators to know. Further than that, please don't ask me for empirical proof. All of these reasons explain why, although the attitude of the learner may be superfluous to science, but this does not have the same meaning for meditation. For learning meditation, you need to have a positive attitude to what you're learning, and that's an implicit part of the process of transmission of knowledge from teacher to student. The transmission of subjective knowledge is in many respects like the transmission of data signals more generally. Like for the television broadcast, there are many reasons why the results we get from our meditation may not be faithful to the original. To start with reasons that are closest to hand, the reasons to do with the students themselves. Even if the knowledge is there for the learning, if the student fails to let go of older misunderstandings or fails to open up to the new knowledge that is being taught, they will be unable to learn much from the teaching. A good student, as we shall see, needs to search for benefit in the new knowledge they are learning. This is what we mean by respect from the point of view of a student. Secondly, the student, who is still a beginner, has to rely on the teacher to guide them, rather like the wooden post planted next to a sapling tree to help protect it from wind damage, until one day it will be strong enough to withstand the wind all on its own. Sometimes the teacher, or here the teaching monk, has plenty of knowledge, but if the student lacks enthusiasm, they will not retain much of what they learn. If you don't believe me, ask yourself what your best and worst your best subjects were the teachers that you liked. Thus you can see that even the warmth of your relationship with the teacher can affect how much you learn. And this is what we mean by respect, or appreciating the good qualities of a teacher. Later we will see that you can be a teacher to yourself as well. However, if you are unable to turn on to that side of yourself, you will fail to learn very much from that either. Thirdly, the body of knowledge which we wish to study may disappear from the world if respect for the tradition or learning process is lacking. For example, historians such as Edward Gibbon or Arnold Toynbee speculated that the fall of the Roman Empire was due to a loss of vision about what it was to be a good Roman. In other words, a loss of virtue in the public imaginary. It is likely that the same thing happened for the ancient Egyptian and Aztec civilizations as well. Similarly, if meditators fail to see the value of meditation they are learning, it will speed the day when the intellectual capital or knowledge of meditation is lost from. Lastly, if we fail to understand and have respect for the founder of the tradition, it is as if we have cut ourselves off from the lineage of the knowledge from which we hope to learn. Today, we will look at the need for respect in helping us to build a personal attitude conducive to meditation and to give us the encouragement we need to learn without end. Before we see how respect can help to prepare the foundation for meditation experience, I will tell you a little story which will help to illustrate the point. There was once a Chinese woman who had two sons. One owned a sunglasses factory and the other owned an umbrella factory. By all means, the Chinese lady should have been proud of her two sons, but to the contrary, she was always unhappy. Whenever it rained, the woman cried. When her friend asked her the reason why, she said she was thinking about the loss of the sunglasses factory. No one would buy any sunglasses that day. But even when the sun came out, the woman still cried. And when her friend asked her why she was crying again, she said she was thinking about the losses being made by the sun with the umbrella factory. Thus, every day, rain or shine, the Chinese woman had something to cry about. One day, the friend gave her some really useful advice. He suggested, why not think about the sun with the umbrella factory when it rains, and think about the sun with the sunglasses factory when it's sunny. That way you can laugh every day. That is just a funny story, but it has an interesting point to consider, that often our state of mind is affected by the way we look at the world. Often all we need to do is to stop looking for the negative things in the world around us, and we can cure our depression. If we go one step further and always look for the positive things around us in the world, it can work wonders for our happiness in life. However, to look for positive things, we have to first let go of our preoccupation with the negative things. If we are unwilling to let go, we cannot even start to help ourselves. And this is where respect, or voluntarily looking for the best in everything, comes in. One main quality of the mind is it cannot focus on more than one thing at once. Of course, it may jump between different things one after the other, but at any one time it can only be on one thing. If it is on negative things, then there's no room in the mind for positive ones. If it is on positive things, there's no room in the mind for negative things. We take advantage of this quality of the mind in meditation to train the mind to habituate successively more positive things to focus on, so it is less under the sway of negative thoughts. In meditation, initially we train the mind to concentrate upon a neutral object like a crystal ball or the moon or the sun, and in such a way the mind will spend less time thinking about negative things and more about neutral things. As the mind becomes more stable, it will even have the opportunity to dwell upon positive things in the mind, for short intervals at first, and then gradually longer and longer intervals, until the mind becomes used to positivity and will find it hard to return to the old negative patterns of thinking. As the author John Leyland reminds us, happiness is a choice. It's a choice that you can make. You can change the quality of the mind for the better or for the worse. If you concentrate on positive things, the quality of the mind will improve. Negativity will be shed from the mind, and for all these reasons we use meditation to increase the positivity of the mind, and it is respect that helps us to shed our preoccupation with negative thoughts by letting go. It is not difficult to find fault with anything in the world. You can find fault even with the meditation tradition, with the meditation teacher, or with yourself. Everything has faults, but to look for them doesn't help you to learn meditation any quicker. Thus, if you can let go of the faults and for a while just open up to the good qualities of things, you can start to appreciate the goodness that exists in the world. Before long, you can start to appreciate some of the goodness in yourself too, not in a narcissistic way, where you value your strengths in a way, but rather to value your strengths in a way that allows you to realistically see your worth towards the world, especially with reference to learning meditation. To let go of possible faults you may find with the meditation tradition, teacher, or even yourself as a student, it will speed your progress on the way. As for opening up to the good things around you in the world, or in the meditation tradition, it has been said that, again, we have to make a special effort. We have to be active in absorbing the good things that come to us. The sun may shine more brightly than anything in the world, but if we fail to open our eyes, we cannot see any more brightness than someone who's blind. In the same way, if we are active rather than passive in looking for good and useful things in what is taught, we will gain a whole lot more from our learning experience. This activeness boils down to respect again, and is the quality that makes us active in opening up to the good things around us or in what we are taught. You may have your own ideas about what the word means, but in the context of meditation, we define the word according to its literal root meaning. If you split the word respect down to its etymological roots, respect is made up of the words re and spect. Spect means to look at something or search for something. Re means to do something for a second time. When we respect someone or something, we must re-examine that person or thing, looking for the good points about that thing or person. Thus you can see that respect is not only about the gesture of our hands or any other physical attribute, it concerns our attitude of mind. As for the most common way of expressing respect, especially relevant in these times when shaking hands has gone out of fashion somewhat, you will find we come to the gesture of prayer, made by putting the palms of the hands together. What you'll notice from the picture is that the fingers of our hands are all together, and we cup our hands slightly so that when the two hands are placed together, then they are rounded like a lotus bud, the symbol of something that will soon blossom with the arrival of knowledge. The forearms are inclined upwards at an angle of about 45 degrees to the axis of the body, and you'll notice that the shape of the hands placed together is also like the shape of our heart. As we hold our hands together in the gesture of respect, it is as if we offer our heart and open our heart to the knowledge which we seek to learn. Please note that the gesture of prayer is not unlike that of the Namaste gesture, where people point their hands straight upwards, and also try not to make this gesture in the way a beggar might, by not putting their fingers neatly in line with one another. So we turn now to look at in which we can cultivate the quality of our minds. And although there are many scientific theories about how people develop a conscience, about distinguishing between good and bad behaviors in life, part of this is to do with the maturity of the brain, as shown by Piagetian developmental stages from pre-operational thought through concrete to formal operational stages. Another aspect of the development of conscience, that which is more under our own control, is to do with life experience, or people being more or less active in forging their character qualities. Lawrence Kohlberg tried to map out the stages people can potentially go through in the maturity of their motivation to do the right thing rather than the easiest thing in their life. Starting with avoiding personal punishment. If you're lucky, you can move on instead to do the best things in life because you want to obtain personal rewards. But then you can move on from there instead to do even better things in life because you want to conform to family or group rules. Hopefully you don't get stuck there, but you can move on to doing the best things in life because you want to honor laws or contracts. Better still, you can do the best things in life because you want to create new and better laws. And ultimately, you can come to a point where you're doing the best things in life because you want to affirm life itself. There's nothing to guarantee we will reach the highest level of conscience in life. Many people never make it past the first two stages. With meditation, it is as if we boost the positivity of the intentions behind the good things in our lives to the highest level. Without meditation, we might get stuck with material punishment and reward as our only motivations in our lives. In many companies, if you don't have a requisite skill when you're interviewed for the new job, you will be turned away. But at the Dhammakaya Temple, we are of the attitude that everyone is of unlimited potential. If people don't have a skill, when they join the temple, they will be trained later. Our community tries to promote an atmosphere where those with more knowledge share their expertise with those who are lacking. For us, we understand it in terms of strengthening the tradition. However, for many companies managed in a modern way, like Lucent or Cisco, they have found that a bad learning environment actually costs them money. Sometimes among 100 employees, one person finds a way to work faster or to make products better. And it's as if, and with such a company. However, without a special effort, it turns out that the good ideas spread very slowly. Sometimes people are reluctant to learn because they have a personal dislike for the inventor. Sometimes they would prefer to compete or reinvent the wheels for themselves. The problem of sharing knowledge has given rise to a whole new management science called knowledge management. Let's see what we can learn from knowledge management, creating an environment in our meditation center where we can share knowledge more efficiently. And what I've done is applied knowledge from a book by Carla Odell and Jackson Grayson, written in 2012, called If Only We Knew What We Know, The Transfer of Internal Knowledge and Best Practice. The book starts with the gruesome observation by Arthur C. Clarke that cave dwellers froze to death on beds of coal. The coal was right under them, but they couldn't see it. It is one clear case of what you don't know can and will hurt you. In corporations valuing innovation, failing to communicate knowledge can also be a matter of life and death, at least for the competitive potential of the organization. What I will do today is apply some of the corporate practices for creating an amenable learning environment for the meditator, together with the negative consequences of omitting attention to these factors. First of all, a meditator needs to be open about the things they have not understood clearly. Otherwise, the meditation student will waste time reinventing the wheel. Secondly, as a meditation student, you will need to be able to admit your shortcomings. Otherwise, you will not be able to improve or learn from your mistakes. Some meditation students are afraid to ask those stupid questions when they haven't understood something, and this makes life hard for the meditation teacher, who has to try and guess what the student. Failing to ask in this way means that the teacher ends up communicating their ideas ineffectively, and the students will end up competing with one another. Students need to look for the good in the teacher and the tradition, otherwise students will have a reduced ability to absorb knowledge. If students concentrate on finding fault with everything, they will end up learning only overt aspects of the knowledge. If the students show enthusiasm for learning and make themselves helpful to the teacher, even on a subconscious level, the teacher themselves will become more enthusiastic and effective at sharing the entirety of what they know. If the meditation students make the effort to conjure up the mood they need to sit down and meditate, they will manage to reach beyond passive learning to achieve active learning. And finally, the meditation student needs to put in sufficient time to learn meditation, otherwise they will not have enough time to get the new ideas meditation involves. Thus, we try to create an atmosphere where we can help each other to learn, and where meditation is not just a one-way lecture from teacher to student. You should take the attitude that you try to learn the knowledge of meditation so well that you could teach it to someone else you met, just like the College of Surgeons, which used the system see one, do one, teach one, to train their surgeons to master every aspect of performing an operation. The fact that most people only use a fraction of the real potential of the mind is testimony to the fact that meditation is hindered in its operation by rust or impurities. These impurities come in three basic groups: greed, hatred, and delusion. Like clouds which cover up the sun, they have to be removed to reveal the true nature of the mind. Thus the pure element is already in the compound even before we start to purify it. To make it pure, all we need to do is remove the taints which make it impure. Our mind is the same. In everybody's mind there is already wisdom and consciousness that is pure and shining, but we usually never notice it, and we are unable to get any of the use out of it because it is covered up by all the defilements and dirt of greed, hatred, and delusion. All we have to do is to get our shining wisdom back again, is to remove those defilements. The way we remove the defilements is by meditation. Thus you can see that we don't actually change the mind by meditating, because the mind has nothing wrong with it. All we need to do is to remove the extraneous impurities. The way we can purify the taints of impurity from our mind is by allowing the mind to come to a standstill at the center of the body. We can compare the purification of the mind to washing a shirt. That is, if any of you are old enough to remember washing a shirt by hand. If you want to wash a shirt efficiently, there are three main principles for this. Firstly, you have to wash it in the place that matters. If it's a shirt, you need to wash it in the place where it gets dirtiest, like its cuffs and its collar. Secondly, you have to scrub it for a sufficient length of time to get it clean. That is, to scrub it for a sufficient number of times. Supposing it takes 100 scrubs to get it clean, and you scrub it only 30 times or 40 times, then it will never get properly clean. Thirdly, you mustn't wash it too much, because not only will you scrub away the dirt, but you will scrub away the fabric as well. Supposing it takes 100 scrubs to get a shirt clean and you scrub it 200 times, then you'll end up not with a shirt but with a heap of rags at the end of the washing. So there are certain principles for purifying or cleaning things, and with the purification of the mind it's much the same principles. If you want to purify the mind efficiently, you must apply the same 3 principles as washing the shirt. Firstly, you have to purify your mind in the place that matters. If, for example, you go and give yourself a brainwash, do you think that that's going to help you purify your mind? Well, not really, because we already said that the place that's the focal point of the mind is not the brain, but the center of the body. Will reading about meditation or speaking about meditation help you purify the mind? Well, not really. If we really want to purify ourselves of the impurities of the mind, we have to be more strategic. We need to acquaint ourselves with the proper technique, and we have to do it for ourselves, not wait for someone else to do it for us. Furthermore, we have to address the problem at the place which really matters, and that is the center of the body. Some sorts of mind training think that if you are aware of everything, then you can conquer the mind. Therefore, if they move their foot, they pay their attention to their foot. If they move their hand, they pay attention to their hand. In fact, if they kept their mind at the center of the body, they could be aware of everything without having to follow the action. The center of the body is like the center of communication for the whole of our being. If you can improve the quality of the mind at the center of the body, every other thing will fall into place, because everything in the mind depends on the well-being of the center of the body. Secondly, you have to purify your mind by meditating for a sufficient number of times or a sufficient length of time. From person to person, the number of times you'll have to meditate before you can reach some sort of breakthrough will differ. Just like for some shirts it takes longer than others to get them clean. If you have a dirty shirt, of course it's going to take longer to get it clean. If the shirt is cleaner, it will take less time. The important thing is that the owner of the shirt keeps on keeping on with the cleaning until it is really clean, and the owner of the mind keeps on doing the meditation until their mind reaches a breakthrough and doesn't give up halfway along. This is why we have to meditate every day in order to progress. We cannot predict in advance just how long it is going to take to reach that breakthrough, but what is important is that we don't miss a day, or else in the meantime our mind will slip back into its old habits again. Thirdly, you must not be excessive about purifying your mind. There are 2 ways that people are sometimes excessive in meditation. Some people might use too much force when they are meditating, rather like the person who uses sandpaper to clean their shirt. In the end, like the shirt, which will have a torn collar, your mind will end up having more stress and tension than when you started. Other people may meditate too much or beyond their means. If someone meditates all day and doesn't go to work, and doesn't support their family who depends on them, then they will not allow their meditation to progress. It will only add to the anxiety they feel every time they meditate. This is the reason why it's not advisable for some people with mental disorders, where they tend to take things to extremes, to be allowed to meditate, because they don't know moderation in the use of their time. But if you're a normal, healthy person and you want to concentrate on meditation and nothing else, then it would be better if you go on a meditation retreat where you can do nothing else but meditate uninterrupted for 7 days, or turn professional and become like a monk like me, where you can spend your whole time meditating as your professional duty and no one will criticize you for it. So now we come to a time for some meditation ourselves, and if you would like to find a comfortable sitting position for yourself now, as you listen to my instructions. So from this moment forth, you should make a firm intention to align your mind with the pathway towards nirvana. Sitting for meditation, cross-legged, with your right leg on your left leg, your right hand on your left hand, and the index finger of your right hand touching against the thumb of your left hand. with your hands resting palm upwards on your lap, lightly and gently. Close your eyes very softly, as if you were only half closing your eyes, similar to the way you might close your eyes to go to sleep. Never squeeze your eyes closed. Make sure there is no pressure around your eyes. And fill your mind with happiness and joy, so that your mind feels refreshed, pure and clean inside, free of any sort of worries or anxieties whatsoever. Let go of all of these things. Allow your mind to be empty. And imagine that inside yourself is just an empty space, without any organs or tissues, without any muscles or bones. Just like an empty cavity inside yourself, a hollow space within you, empty inside, rather like a crystal tube or a diamond pipe, bright and clear inside yourself. Today, as we meditate, we'll take the opportunity to look at meditation and how it affects our needs for taking rest. Because once we understand the principles of meditation, according to all the things we've learned from the DMC channel, that the triple gem is located within ourselves, the Buddha gem, the Dhamma gem, and the Sangha gem, we know that these three jewels inside ourselves are our true refuge, the highest refuge for all of us, with no other thing comparable or superior to these refuges, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha jewels. These three jewels are located within us. They are subtle bodies of enlightenment inside ourselves, beautiful and serene, so perfect that it's hard to know what to compare them to in the outside world. Attaining these inner bodies, we have to refine our mind, to make the mind as refined as those inner bodies themselves. The mind has to be as refined as them in order to perceive and experience them firsthand. Thus, the mind needs to be very refined indeed, as subtle as the triple gem itself, in order that we can attain it, even to be able to see or feel those inner experiences. Therefore, our job as a meditator is to refine the mind to a point where we can experience the subtle inner reality. In our everyday life, down to the present day, we have been preoccupied with making our living, looking after our household and family. And these have been the things that have caused our mind to become coarse. Because we've used our mind to think, speak, and take action, therefore the mind becomes coarse. And once it is coarse, it is unable to reach the triple gem inside us. Everyday life habituates us to such coarseness of mind. As a result of all the struggles, conflict, and hardship we have to deal with in life. This is how our mind becomes. Because when we have to struggle, when we have to have the words and actions to get by, sometimes we pick up the negative emotions from our colleagues at work, who are, for the most part, coarse of mind anyway. Therefore, when we come to meditate, our mind becomes gross. Gross and coarse, because it is always caught up
with all the thoughts of the workplace. It is always appropriate to deal with coarse phenomena by coarse methodology. If we are dealing with subtle things, then we have to use subtle methodology. If we use methodology to fit the issue, there is nothing we cannot improve. We use methodology appropriate to the issue we're dealing with. Knowing that the mind is subtle, we must use subtle methodology. It's a methodology which is not the same as for things in the outside world. In the outside world, we have to think, but when dealing with the mind, it's important that we don't think. For the work of the outside world, it's necessary to speak, but for the inner work, we say nothing. For the work of the outside world, it's necessary to move around, but for the inner work, it's necessary to remain still. For meditation, it's imperative that we don't attempt to think, speak, or do anything. We mustn't have any expectations about what we're going to see, because it's unlikely that we're just going to see the triple gem by accident. We have to make the mind subtle first. Therefore, for the period of our meditation, we can forget completely about thinking, speaking, or doing anything. Simply allow your mind to remain in stillness at the center of the body, at the seventh base of the mind, which is located at the center of our stomach, about 2 finger breadths above the level of the navel, in the center of our body. This is the place where our mind wakes and sleeps, where it is conceived and where it dies. We must bring our mind, which normally wanders all over the place, back to this point in the center of our body, in a soft and gentle way, resting there consistently, lightly and gently the whole of the time. If we can rest our mind here in a light and gentle way, we will have a feeling of expansion inside ourselves. Our eyes shouldn't stare down at the center. They should look ahead, as they normally do, because they have nothing to do with the process of meditation. We will have the feeling as if there is an expansion and spaciousness inside ourselves, which gives us the feeling as if our body seems to melt away into the atmosphere around us. Sometimes we may like to imagine a bright object there, such as a bright sphere or a bright Buddha image in a center. We imagine such an image should be in the same vein as already mentioned for resting the mind at the center, that is, gently, softly, and continuously, as if we were looking at a commonplace object such as a rose, something we don't bother to stare at, but can just gaze at gently. In fact, it doesn't have to be a rose. It can be any object which we are used to thinking of. Whatever we choose, we should imagine it continuously, in a light and easy way. If we reach the perfect equilibrium in our meditation, we will have a sensation of lightness and expansion at the center of our body. We'll find that the inner experience expands outwards. This is the right way of doing things. If we have the feeling in our meditation that something is blunt or stressed or narrow or forced, then we shouldn't force ourselves to go further with meditation that feels like that. Better that you open your eyes, then close them to start again. We have to go to our meditation gently, lightly, and patiently, with our mind at a standstill at the center, in a subtle and gentle way, with our mind bright and clear at the center. In the beginning, you may not see very much, but it doesn't matter, because if our mind is simply at a standstill at the center, before long we will have the feeling of lightness and expansion, bringing us a feeling of contentment in our meditation. We feel that we'd like to stay with this feeling for a long time. We won't have any feeling of boredom with our practice. If you find that this is how your meditation is going, then there's no need to change your methodology. Because the stopping of the mind is the secret of success. The great abbot of Wat Phak Nam, Prat Mongkon Thepuni, maintained that this stopping of the mind will lead us to progress from the beginning stages of meditation up to the attainment of arahantship. There's no need to analyze or have a mental commentary on your meditation. Don't try to make meditation happen, but allow it to happen by itself. Allow your mind to become peaceful of its own accord. Don't try staring at the center of your body, and don't try using your eyes to see the object of meditation. There's no need to analyze or reflect on what you're doing. Just simply maintain your mind at the center, gentle and in comfort at your center. And if you like, you may repeat the sound of the mantra to yourself. Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang. You can repeat the mantra or not, as you wish. If you find repeating it helps you, it means that you can keep on repeating it over and over again to yourself until your mind comes to a standstill at the center. Starts to come to a standstill, then the sound of Samma Arahang, or the mantra, will die away by itself, almost as if you forgot to maintain the mantra. But if your mind is not still and wanders to other matters, then you will need to keep up the mantra. But if your mind is no longer wandering and there are no more thoughts arising, you can let the mantra die away. You don't need to maintain the mantra anymore. Continue merely by maintaining your mind gently and in stillness at your center. Eventually, spontaneous brightness will arise by itself, continuously at the center of the body, as soon as your mind overcomes the 5 hindrances. As for those who have seen brightness at their center, to the point that it remains in the mind, even though we might lie down to go to sleep at night, sometimes it feels that it will remain bright all night long, bringing us a feeling that we hardly need to sleep anymore. Some people worry about this, thinking that if they miss out on their sleep because of the inner brightness, before long, especially in the morning when they get up and have to go to work, they will be worried they have not had enough rest. Because conventionally speaking, we are told we need 6 or 8 hours of sleep per night. And so, when we have brightness inside, keeping us awake at night, sometimes we are afraid we have not had enough sleep and will look pale and washed out in the morning, lack confidence in decision-making at work. But you shouldn't go thinking like that. Conventional knowledge only works for conventional people. It is only recommended that we need 6 or 8 hours of sleep at night because most people don't sleep very deeply. They spend all night turning over in their sleep, waking and going back to sleep again, and their mind is not really resting when they are asleep. In fact, their 6 or 8 hours of sleep actually doesn't involve very much rest for the mind at all. But this is the norm for the majority of people. But for us, who know the secret of meditation, the case is different, because the nervous system and the mind is already rested by the fact that meditation has relaxed us at a much deeper level. Through our meditation, we feel refreshed, and sometimes, even though we meditate, we may fall asleep for an hour or two in a night. In fact, that is ample for the mind that is subtle. We will wake up without feeling need for additional rest. So we have to let go of our preconceived ideas about our sleep needs. There's no need to worry about so-called conventional wisdom. The level of refreshedness from sleeping with brightness inside is superior by a long way to sleeping with darkness inside. If we close our eyes at night to brightness inside, then even a little rest counts for a lot. We will be filled with joy and happiness the whole of the time, the body adapting of its own accord. It will demand only the bare necessities of rest. Maybe 2 or 3 hours will be enough, but from the inside it will feel ample. Even as one is lying down to take one's rest, for those with a basis of meditation experience, there will be a sensation of one's consciousness being attracted through an expanding center inside our body. Some may be afraid of that feeling. Some even try to resist the feeling and wake themselves up, because they are afraid of the apparent feeling of falling down inside themselves, as if they're going over a humpback bridge, or suddenly dropping like an aircraft in air turbulence. In fact, there is no need to resist the feeling. On the contrary, such a feeling is a sign of progress in one's inner experience. It's our mind being drawn inwardly towards the pure Dhamma elements inside ourselves, rather like being drawn towards a huge magnet inside ourselves. We will be attracted inside and have a feeling rather as if we are moving, even though we might be lying on a stationary bed. But there's no danger in it at all. Don't let such experiences grip you with the fear of death, because there is nothing really to worry about. If ever you come across such a sensation, you shouldn't change your position, because only good things will come of such an experience. So you should go with it. It's not everyone who has such a good experience. Of the 6 billion people in the world, it's only a handful who ever attain such an experience. It shows that our mind is starting to become pure, and that our self-training is beginning to give fruit. In fact, this is the nature of the mind when it starts to become refined, that it will attract us inwards, towards a more refined dimension. It doesn't make a difference if you are sitting in meditation or lying down, if your mind is refined and focused at the center. So don't go worrying about it, and don't open your eyes when you come to this point, or try to resist the sensation. Go through with it, remaining impartial, not worrying where your consciousness is being attracted to, because in any case it's not going to harm you. For harm to come to a person, they have to be ill first. We mustn't judge ourselves by the assumptions of conventional people. However, for those touching on such an experience, you should be proud of yourself that your mind has become as refined as that. If your mind is not refined, then you have no experience of inner brightness. However, equipped with such inner brightness, you will be able to relax more deeply than the majority of people, and be able to sleep more deeply. You will get more benefit out of the short time you are asleep. You will lie down at night with a feeling of expansion within yourself, as the happiness inside is expanding and perfusing throughout your body. Equipped with a mind full of happiness, you can maintain contentment, whatever situation you find yourself in. Thus, with a proper understanding of these issues, you can make more efficient use of your meditation time. You won't waste time trying to use force to make your meditation progress. If the image is not clear to you, adjust the subtlety of your mind rather than trying to adjust the clarity of the image directly. Accept whatever you have to see inside. Whatever there is to see, just observe it without trying to interfere with it. For anyone who is tired or sleepy or stressed, allow yourself to fall asleep in your meditation for a moment, and then, when you wake up, continue with your meditation. If you have itches, then scratch. If you have a lot of thoughts coming into your mind, open your eyes and close them again. If you have aches and pains, then change position. All of you can manage to succeed in this meditation if you put your mind to it. All of you will be able to find answers to the case studies for yourself before long. Thus, may all of you be fulfilled in your wish to attain the triple gem inside yourself. Now, each their own meditation practice in silence for a few more moments until we come to the appropriate time. สัพพุทธานุภาเวนะสัพพธัมมานุภาเวนะสัพพสังฆานุภาเวนะทาโสธีภวันตุเท. So if you'd like to come to the end of your meditation for today, you can gradually open your eyes again. If you feel at all uncomfortable, then slowly try changing to a more comfortable position and gradually finish your practice. So we've been talking a little about trying to notice the differences between our meditation and our state of mind from day to day. Many people find that their mood affects the success of their meditation from day to day. Some people find that if they do something to put themselves in a good mood before meditation, then they have better meditation as a result. Their meditation comes more easily. Here are some things that people do to put themselves in a good mood, and you might like to see which of them makes some sense for you as well. For example, you might want to do something you enjoy before you sit down to meditate. Of course, what you enjoy is best known to yourself. Some people find, for example, that taking a shower or brushing your hair, even cutting your fingernails before you sit down to meditate can change your whole feeling about the meditation practice. Some people need to make sure they've had enough sleep before they sit down to meditate. And some people like to actually go and sit in a place where they feel relaxed, maybe out in nature, next to a waterfall, or in the open air. And one useful piece of advice is it's generally best not to sit for meditation immediately after having had a heavy meal. But you should experiment for yourself at home, because on my next session in a couple of weeks' time, then we will start to look at some of the ups and downs in the quality of our mind and see how the lives we live in the outside world affects the capacity of ourselves to be able to meditate. So just to finish off today, I have some questions which our viewers have sent in concerning their meditation or ethical dilemmas in their lives. And the first question today comes from Cleopatra of Arcadia in California, and they sent in a question about telling the truth. The question goes something like this. I recall in one of our meditation lectures you mentioned something along the lines of, it is best not to be untruthful, but it is acceptable to tell a white lie if it diffuses an argument and won't harm anyone by saying it. Can you please elaborate a little more about that? Sometimes we say things that are untrue, perhaps to save someone's feelings. That's a touchy grey area in Buddhism, right? I believe Buddha once said only tell things that are both true and helpful. So there are plenty of true things that some people would not say because they are not helpful. That's not a white lie, but to say you liked someone's cooking when you didn't, just to save their feelings, that's a tough one. Most people would just go ahead and lie. But after doing some reading, I believe the Buddha told some untruths occasionally, but he called it skillful means, where the end justifies the means. Am I right? Okay. Hi Cleopatra, if you're listening in, I should start by thanking you for owning up to a question I'm sure many people would like to ask but never dared. It is definitely best not to be untruthful. I haven't created white lies, although what I may have said is that you should tell as much of the truth as is useful and beneficial and polite and timely in a situation, according to the principles of five-star speech. For example, you may be truthful in saying that you saw a prisoner running away from a violent psychopath, but you failed to tell the psychopath that you saw which way they went. In a court of law, this would not work, of course, because they ask you to tell the whole truth. White lies adults tell their children are generally a cowardly way out, and it's better to find a way to explain the true situation in the way a child can understand, like pretending their pet hamster has not really died. That would be a white lie, which in the long run would not be good for the child.
As for what the Buddha said, I think the Theravada version of the Buddha never told any untruths. That would be whatever he said. The Mahayana version of bodhisattvas on various levels might have more ethical wiggle room, as you say, under the guise of skillful means, although that is a whole other can of worms, because there are many examples of bodhisattvas choosing between the best of two evils, like killing one to save many, like the example you find in the Upaya Kushala Sutta. Normally, in the Theravada tradition, the Buddhas or Bodhisattvas will try to intervene so that nobody gets killed, except in some cases themselves. Being forthright and sincere was a pretty consistent quality of the Buddha throughout his many lifetimes. He made many acts of truth that brought about miracles. I'm sure there is something useful that you can say about someone's cooking, no matter how bad it is, like, well, that was really filling, or that was really nutritious, or I have a day though. So in conclusion, a good rule of thumb is that you should only say as much as is true, useful, compassionate, polite, and timely. The second question I have is from Daniel Day of Mobile, Alabama. Here comes the question. Last night in a 45-minute session, I had a very different visualization. It was as if I could see a solid surface in my meditation, very bright and vivid red. It was not glowing, but very bright. I just observed this and let it be. The experience remained throughout the session. When I came to the end of my meditation, I really didn't want to open my eyes. I really didn't want to move or speak. I felt so rested. But why the red color? Although I know it's wrong to cling to a meditation experience, it did leave me wondering. Can you help me understand what I was seeing? What was that? First, let me congratulate you on doing well in your meditation. From what you've told me, it would seem that letting your meditation or inner experience be is the right approach. No matter what happens in your meditation, just treat the inner experience in your meditation as a work in progress and let it complete its transformation without questioning, especially while you are actually doing the meditation. Notice I'm not going to go into the details of the experience, and you shouldn't do either. Just know that you're already on the right track. The feeling you had at the end of the meditation that you would like to sit further is generally a promising sign. If you have time to extend your meditation time to make full use of your good meditation experience, you might want to extend the duration of your meditation session. Maybe move up from 45 minutes to a full hour. Another suggestion I can make for the future is to try to remember not just the experience, but also what you did right in order to get to that, so that you can repeat this in future and further your experience. So this is very up-to-date, latest photojournalism from the LA Times just this morning. Our famous Lumpi Mahasombat at the temple gates there has caught the imagination of one of the local journalists here and is being published in color in the LA Times today, both in print and online. But it leads me to the subject of supporting the temple in these difficult times. So let me just finish up with a couple of news items, one about merit making at the temple and the second one about the availability of meditation apps online. At the moment, as you probably know, the activities of the temple are reduced to those we can share online, as the temple has closed its gates with no monks going out into the community and no community members coming into the temple until the risk of COVID-19 contagion is past. Although all of us hope the present situation will not last too long, the silver lining for the crisis is that there are additional or perhaps different ways in which temple devotees can show their support for the temple without attending in person. Such efforts are in line with the caremongering that you see widely reported around the world at the moment, and since March 15th, the temple has been running a weekly merit fund whereby devotees can pledge and transfer donations of money, any amount you can spare, to be used for necessary things like food and medicine and to keep the temple community going. with further details to be found on the Temple's DIMC family line group, or you can ask about it by phoning up members of the Temple staff. But as you can see from the slide, mostly the convenient way to actually make a donation is either by check, which you can mail to the Temple, or by arising from COVID-19 Silver Lining Fund are that you will have a life free of obstacles and danger, you will gain mastery of all forms of knowledge, prosper in your duties, have special insight into Dharma teachings, attain purity with ease, and break free from the defilements in the mind. You will gain wealth on worldly, spiritual, and transcendental levels, allowing you to pursue perfections with ease all the way to the attainment of the utmost Dharma. And everyone in the temple for sure would like to rejoice in your merits on this occasion. Last but not least, paying attention to what's happening in the world is difficult in the age of COVID-19, but meditation can also help us cope during this unsettling time. Especially if you're worried about tomorrow, just try to focus on today, since without meditation most of the time, our minds are locked in the past and future. Meditation helps to put you in the moment. Most people have no problem coping for as long as here and now. But if you can put yourself in the present, you can handle things differently, and you can handle difficult thinking. Since there's a tendency for people to become more anxious as they self-quarantine at home, being able to meditate more than ever is a great opportunity to alleviate stress, depression, and insomnia, and as a way to cope. People often feel discouraged when they first give meditation a try because the mind goes in a million different directions at once. But really, this is to be expected for anyone who is new to meditation. The important thing is to try to keep going with meditation and don't give in to worry, especially when there's so much to worry about. Use meditation to come back to the present moment. Your practice will only get stronger over time, and try to avoid letting your mind get tangled up with worst-case scenario forward thinking and focus on what's happening now. If you were to use a train metaphor, the moment you realize you've been locked in worry, it's possible to get off the train. Do set zero, as they say in the meditation terminology. If you realize that you are already on the train, it's important to know that you can get off the train. And as you practice mindfulness further, you don't even have to get on the train in the first place. You can actually stay on the platform and just let those scary thoughts go. In this respect, here at the temple, although there are no face-to-face teaching sessions at the moment, you can log in the Dhamma teachings in English at the YouTube channel called DIMC Information, either live on Thursday evenings or Sunday mornings, or on demand after the event. Also last week, one of our volunteers, Tipserine Indikanok, OB, and her team in Georgia has released a mobile phone app of English language meditation and Dhamma teachings from various monks in our organization, which is available free of charge from the Google Play Store for Android version and App Store for the iOS version. Spelled MINDGEM. In this app, there are about 10 versions of meditation instruction from whichever is your favorite monk, whether it be myself, or Lumpy Sander, or Lumpy John, Lumpy Pasora, Lumpy Clint. And there are also Dhamma teachings, inspiration from the translated books of Venerable Demetrio, and a meditation countdown timer. So this week we have looked at some of the benefits of meditation and the special approaches needed to study meditation successfully, and how to cultivate these to maximize progress in our meditation for this week. For my next session online with you, which will, fingers crossed, be in a week on Sunday, at that time we'll be looking a little more at the ups and downs of the mind in everyday life, and for good measure I would like to remind viewers again that you can send in questions, and I will do my best to answer these on my next Sunday session. In the meantime, try to maintain a positive mood, speak only positive words, forgive others, extend good wishes to others, and meditate daily. Try to notice what puts you in the mood for meditation, and try also to notice the better and worse qualities of your meditation as well. So for today's program, this is me, Nichola Thanissaro, signing off for this week. So long, folks, and stay safe.
Thank you everyone for joining us today, and we would like to thank you for your patience as well while we powered through those technical difficulties. For anyone who wrote questions, we will We will show the questions to Venerable Nicholas and he will get back to you. And if you are not aware, we have daily peace break sessions Friday through Wednesday, 7 to 7:30. Thursdays, we have these peacetime intro to meditation sessions from 7 to 8:30, and Sunday, 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Thank you again, and we hope you rejoice in your meditation. Have a good weekend.